No warm-up, no pleasantries. Donald Trump told you, to your face, repeatedly, for years, that he was the one guy who'd keep America out of war. He built his whole identity around it. And now he's the president who torched the Middle East. Let's go through exactly how that happened, and who's really pulling the strings. If you don't want to keep paying for wars you never voted for, with your taxes, with your kids, with your future, subscribe. Because the people making these decisions are counting on you staying uninformed. Back to 2011. Trump, not rage posting, not at a rally. Standing in front of cameras at Trump Tower, looking straight into the lens. Obama can't negotiate with Iran. We don't need another war in the Middle East. If I were president, I'd sit down with Iran and make a deal. Convenient memory. Donald. 2016. He campaigns on pulling every American soldier out of the Middle East. Huge applause. Bigger promises. The base ate it up like it was gospel. 2024, 6 months of relentless campaigning, millions of Americans hanging on every word, and the message never changed: America is done being the world's policeman. MAGA went absolutely wild for it. And now, that same man just became the president who started the largest war the Middle East has seen in a generation. That Nobel Peace Prize he kept dangling in front of you? Someone should quietly take it off his vision board. Permanently. Here's the part that actually matters. 3 reasons Trump did a complete 180. Pick the one that hits hardest, because none of them are trivial. Reason 1. The Island Files. Some of you think that story is dead. It isn't. Right now, on Capitol Hill, senators and House members are on record. We've seen what's on those recordings. We are not letting this go. Those files are going to surface. And when they do, some very powerful, very well-protected people are going to have nowhere left to hide. Whether Trump is one of them, sit with that question. Reason 2. The ego monument. Trump doesn't want a legacy. He wants a statue. He wants history to carve him as the wartime commander who launched a war and won it. Whether that fantasy survives contact with reality is a different conversation. But when your entire existence is about being the biggest name in the room, sometimes you start a war just to prove you can finish one. Reason 3. The New York Times said it directly. Netanyahu played Trump. That's the story. American soldiers are dying for Israel right now. Not for American interests. For Israel's. The Times printed it in black and white. And if you're tempted to dismiss that as liberal media, Iran's own official government accounts are saying the exact same thing. It's not Trump running America. It's Netanyahu. When your sworn enemy and the mainstream press are telling the same story, maybe, just maybe, that's not a coincidence. Amnesty International's numbers. Iran executes an average of 3 people every single day. And during recent crackdowns, over 30,000 opposition members weren't imprisoned, they were massacred. While that was happening, the regime's clerical elite and top officials were living in obscene wealth. Mansions, luxury, absolute untouchable power, while ordinary Iranians suffocated under poverty and religious oppression that reached into every corner of their existence. This regime is monstrous. That is not up for debate. But here's what happened when the bombs actually fell. Khamenei, 87 years old, possibly already dying, didn't go to his bunker when the strike came. He stayed, and he took his daughter, his son-in-law, his daughter-in-law, and his 14-month-old granddaughter with him into that strike. Now Iranian state television is plastering that baby girl's image across every screen, to demonize America, to rally the base, to consolidate the regime he spent a lifetime building. Think about what that means. A man who ruled for decades through fear and religious manipulation. His final act was using his own 14-month-old granddaughter as a posthumous propaganda tool. He didn't just choose martyrdom for himself. He choreographed it. He handed his regime the perfect weapon on his way out, a dead infant and an American bomb to blame it on. This is what the regime is. This is who they are. And this is exactly the kind of chess move that Trump, for all his bluster, either never saw coming or simply didn't care about. Now let's talk about what everyone is watching but not fully saying. A photo surfaces from the White House, Trump at an event, something visibly off about his posture, his appearance. Social media immediately starts asking, is he on medication? Is he being managed? Is he even the one making these calls? Normally you'd brush that off. But once you see the full pattern with Netanyahu, those photos stop looking random. Here's the example that should make every MAGA voter stop cold. Netanyahu had a Fox News interview scheduled. Routine stuff, right? Except Donald Trump made the announcement. The President of the United States ran a press release for a foreign head of government. Find me one other example of that in modern history. You can't. Since Trump took office, Netanyahu has visited Washington 5 times. 5. They shut the Capitol down for him every single time. And then there was that moment, the one that played on every screen, where Trump physically pushed a chair in for Netanyahu at the table. Like a maitre d', like hired help, except he's supposedly the most powerful man on the planet. We may never know the full story behind that dynamic. But here's what no one is arguing about anymore. Trump owes Netanyahu something significant, and he's paying it back one military strike at a time, with American lives as the currency. So there it is, MAGA, the anti-war populist, the man who looked you in the eye and said, America first, now running errands for a foreign prime minister while American soldiers take the casualties. Everything he promised he'd never be, he became. Loudly, proudly, with a flag behind him and a teleprompter in front of him. Tell me in the comments, which of those 3 reasons do you believe? Because I genuinely want to hear it. And if you think I got something wrong, come correct. Right now, the world is being engineered by a handful of powerful elites, and we are not invited to the table. Your future wealth, your democracy, your freedom, is being shaped without your voice. If ordinary people don't unite now, the future will be owned by billionaires and algorithms. Right now, only 15% of you watching are subscribed. That means 85% are gambling with their own awareness. This isn't entertainment. This is your financial survival kit. Subscribe, like and share. Not for me, but because if we don't organize information today, we will pay the price tomorrow.